Hey all, welcome back. This is Production Management and Practice, or Stardew Production Management 101. My name is Dino the Ops Guy. I'm basically the strategy person, the upper management person in this company that I've sort of created. I guess it's not a company as much as a factory, but a factory for purpose that's in Stardew Valley. So essentially, it's a course in production management that I lead that takes you through what you have to know, not from the textbook, but from the real operations, from how things actually work. So hopefully that's sort of what you're looking for. This is episode 59, so there were 58 episodes before this, and each one corresponds to a day. So it is actually day 59, which works out to whatever that is, fall day 3, I think it is. But it's all sort of sequential in the Stardew Valley sense. But from the learning sense, feel free to just pick and choose whatever episodes make the most sense for you, or dive in wherever you need to. Hopefully that works for you. I have a person on the ground as much as I do the strategy stuff. I don't actually do the decision making on the floor. I leave that to someone else who's really good at it. That's Av. That's his picture up in the top corner. And I communicate with Av on a lot of levels, but one of the most basic levels, just sort of set out, keeping in mind the strategic stuff that has to go on, what objectives we have for the day. And then Av can use that to sort of set his own objectives and create the best situation possible. But coming from the strategy side, I'm expecting that Av can harvest. We won't have to water the crops because it's raining today, but pet the animals and process the animal products. Pick an apple and jar a peach, and we're doing that because we need 3 apples for one of the bundles. So we're not going to put the apple in the jar, in the preserves jar. We're going to put the peach instead because we have some of those. Make a cookout kit, because one of the other things we need in the bundle is a fried egg. So we need to fry an egg. And that's going to require either a kitchen, which is going to take a long time, or a cookout kit, which we can do today if it all works out. Load a keg for wine, and a wine is another bundle that we have to do. And bundle the fried egg, the maple syrup, the oak resin, and 3 apples, and 25,000 G. And I say bundle from the standpoint, the strategy really is in the short term to finish the community center. And in the community center, there are bundles, and there are bundles that can be completed. For example, if we have a fried egg and a maple syrup. So we have bundles that can be advanced if we put some oak resin. We can have bundle that can be completed with 3 apples, and a bundle that can be completed with 25,000 G. So if Av can take those items over to the community center and close out those bundles, that would be awesome. So if there's any free time, feel free to forage and mine. But at this point, I am going to turn you over to Av so that he can show you how things work on the floor. Thanks, Dino. Oh, we're going to say hi to Meow. And the weather report says it's going to be cloudy tomorrow. That's not a big deal. The spirits are in good humor today. I think that's good. I'm happy. Did we forget something about the Queen of... Yes, there is a Queen of Sauce. Oh, but we've already seen it. Okay, so that's not a big deal. Well, we got a few things on the go today. Normally the objectives list from Dino isn't that long, but we got some fair bit of stuff to do. I appreciate the importance of that, so that's good. Let's put some of the mushrooms away. We want to keep the chanterelles for the jar, so we'll bring them over to the jar. We got some oak resin. That's good. We can bring that actually to the bundle because that's one of the things we need. We can check out. Oh, we got salmonberry. Well, you know what we're going to do with that salmonberry? We're going to put it inside this keg for wine, because we do need wine for one of the bundles as well. And it doesn't matter how expensive the wine is, and salmonberry is pretty cheap, so we can do that. That makes sense. We have our 3 apples. Let's get a peach so that we can refill the jar. That's going to be good. And then after this, we'll just basically hand to mouth. Go from... Oh, Chef doesn't have milk. Yes, of course, we have even goats. So it's an odd day. We don't need to water the goats. I said water. And of course, we tried it again. So it's just habit, I guess. Okay, we got some milk. So So yeah, from the jar standpoint, ideally what we want to do is pull the apple off the tree and just put it right into a jar right next to the tree. So that's sort of what we had in mind. But we do need 3 apples to fill one of the bundles. There's our double check to make sure we've pet all the animals. But after we've done this bundling, it's just going to be fluid for the apples. And we're going to look for, we call that a cell. Where things sort of flow together and you don't have to take them all over the plant. Now you can make virtual cells, to be fair, so that anytime you get something from one place, you go to the next thing, even if it's not right next to it. Um, and you know what those paths are, and you can make those paths faster. But it's nicer if they're just next to each other. So pull it out of the tree, put it into the jar. So we do need a cookout kit, but we need wood. We don't have enough wood for a cookout kit. All right, let's. Oh, we see there's a little seed. We got to get rid of that. That's part of our 5S stuff to keep that area clear, because it's important that we can walk through there, and trees that grow don't allow walking all that well. So, okay, let's get some wood, and that'll make a cookout kit, and then we can use the cookout kit to make a fried egg. And in fact, I want to use the cookout kit as well to make some roots platter. So that's something we can use. It's not as important in our current mines. I mean, certainly below 80 it can get a bit hairy, but it helps us with our attack. And once we get, I mean, if we need help in in these mines, we can use it. But the key thing is once we get to the desert and start in those, having a little extra buff is kind of helpful. So let's go get the stuff. We need winter root and, or sorry, not, yeah, winter root and a cave carrot. So once we put those two together, we're good. We'll just leave the cookout kit. It's going to disappear at the end of the day. So I think we're all set. I think we have everything we need. So the other thing, I'm just sort of toying with the idea of if we get to Clint, maybe upgrade our hole, because it's something we were meaning to do before the end of summer, and it just never got to it. So if we got some time now, all of our farming is pretty much set. So actually, I say that, and anyway, it's just it's about time we do it. So okay, finishing off these bundles, and putting in some maple, some eggs. We're getting 30 pink cakes. How descriptive, pink. And our 25,000, this is going to work out well from the standpoint we get a crystallarium. So a crystallarium will copy any gems that are in it. And of course, the most expensive gem is a diamond. So I usually put a diamond right away, and it copies a diamond. I forget how many days, but let's say 10 days or something like that. I keep forgetting that Pierre's is closed on Wednesday. So now we may not have enough to make a copper hoe. Well, let's see what we got. So we're going to use some money to crack into some geodes, and we'll see what happens there. Got some iron, got some jambrite. We can sell that because we've already used it for Gunther, and we got some geoite, whatever that can. There's so many different name things. So the slate and the jamborite we can sell. Still not up to 2,000. But we got a few more, and of course each one we spend 25 G on. So, well, we can sell those 2 slate, and I think we're close. Yeah, and then if we sell the earth crystal, we're just over. So let's set that up, and we'll use that. Go to Gunther and drop off our the new gold sort of bubbly cloudy thing. And I see rings. Let's take advantage of those rings. See what we can find fishing. It's been a while since we've gotten rings. We got the treasure as well. Smallmouth bass, that's okay. But we got another geode. It'd be nice if we could get back to Clinton and finish that. But let's focus on getting the fish that we can get. Because it's, oh, salmon's nice. Nice to get some salmon. Once we get a smoker, there's a few fish that smoke nice. Salmon is a good smoked fish. Some of the higher value fish is nice. So it's nice to have a few in line for that. We have some shad. We've already put shad in the bundle, so we don't need another one for the bundle, so we can sell this one off. Some more salmon. You gotta love some more salmon. I don't know that we need to keep the salmon. There's probably more that we can get later on. Trying to get a bit of cash is probably a higher priority, given that we don't have a fish smoker with us right now. We can look at getting that. Oh, we're all full. Okay, so let's drop our maple seeds. Okay, let's get our fishing right. This is like fishing exercise. We're stretching. All right, so we are good. Let's get down and sell this stuff off. However, now I realize that we're full, so it'll be hard to pick up items. So let's drop some of the cheaper, deeper stuff and see if we can make spots. Is two spots enough? Let's see. We got 2, just enough. Nice. Okay, so we'll sell everything we have that makes sense to sell here. The fish and the forage items, and then on our way back out, we will pick up those things that we dropped. So yeah, we're gonna sell the salmon. There's no sense in keeping it just yet. So we'll get the items that we sort of laid by the wayside and head over back to the farm. We'll take the alternate route to see if we can find some forage items. And oh, we see a couple people. Hi, Leah. Hi, Mayor Lewis. Do you always have to say Mayor in front of Lewis? Hi, Lewis. That sounds better, Mayor Lewis. Okay, so we are back up. We got what we needed. With stones are in short supply, and just to keep up the side of the farm, it's nice to do a sweep on this side as well. Let's reload the animal products. So we got a heater. We're gonna need a second heater for the cows, but I wanted to get put the heater away so that we don't have to worry about it later. And then I chose put in the chicken coop instead of the cows because cows are actually a quicker walk to Marnie. So the idea is once we buy the second one from Marnie, it'll be easier to just drop it off. Let's set up our crystallarium, and then we can put our diamond in the crystallarium and let it do its magic. It's very, 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 very slow magic. And we are going to put some mushrooms in jars, specifically chanterelles. And then because we don't have, we did have a morel, but now that we're here, let's just put the cauliflower in. I think that's the most efficient thing to do right now, and we can get the morel for next time. Selling off, we don't really have a lot of purpose for the red mushrooms, so I'm keeping 2 and selling the rest off. It's just sort of an inventory decision there. Drop off the blackberry, and we should at some point drop off the cake. Let's do that, and we only need a couple cakes, so I dropped off 1 and we'll sell the other 2. All right, let's go to the mine, and in the mine we're going to focus on the floors below 8, like the 80 plus floors. And if we can find the stones would be nice. So if we can find the big stones, don't mind getting some battle gain. There's some good stuff. But ideally what I'd like to find are either omni geodes or directly rainbow shards. If we could get prismatic shards, that would be a good thing because that could lead to a much better sword for when we get to the desert. Planning ahead for the desert, and you can get geodes, I think, just above 20, the Omni geodes, higher floors than 20. But if you're going to get it in a chest or something, prismatic shard, or have it as a drop, animal drop, then it's got to be 80 or further than 80. So that's kind of what we're thinking. It's a long shot, but it's one of those things. If you need stones, if you need other things in the mines, then you might as well coordinate so that if you happen to find a prismatic shard, that's in your favor. So don't mind engaging in the googlies because we do have a fair bit of health, and they will increase our chances. There's an opportunity to find a prismatic shard. That would be nice. Getting some gold. It's not summer anymore, so we're not going to get any mixed flower seeds. But it's still kind of worthwhile to do the weeds to get mixed seeds. They still have some value, so we're going to do that in a lot of cases. We're not trying to make, it's not going to be a midnight run kind of thing. So we'll have to manage our time. In fact, I think once we get rid of the obvious stuff on this floor, we're just going to take the elevator up and head back. So, yeah, let's get this slime so it doesn't chase us around. Oh, and we got a mystic box as well. We got a bomb. A bomb's nice. Get a little more stone, a little more fiber, and then we're heading up. So given that it's still a bit early, let's take the back way and see if we can find some forage items. That could work in our favor rather than taking the minecart. So let's look what's available. If we could make bundles, or if we can... Oh, there we go. A little bit of hazelnut. So we're going to add those hazelnut to the rest for the winter seeds. First time making winter seeds. But we can, same as summer seeds and spring seeds, we can change those winter seeds into tea saplings. So that's a good thing. So we're going to take the 4 hops and work back. We're going to do our animal products. We're not going to touch that peach jelly because it just works out timing-wise to wait till morning, because at that point we will have the apple that we want to put in its place. So there's no sense in jumping the gun on that. There's no benefit to it. So, okay. We need, I'm trying to remember now, blackberry. Do we need winter root? I don't remember. Plum, wild plum for sure. I think that's it. No. What do we need? Let's see the recipe there. Where is it? There. Wild seeds. Oh, common mushroom. Okay, so let's get rid of this root. And let's get some wild mushrooms. That's an easy one. We got lots of those. So we'll convert that to seeds. And then we'll convert that to tea saplings once we have our fiber. And that's going to put us pretty late at night. We're almost out of things to do, or having time to do anything, I guess, is the point to be made here. I think the coal, yeah, and the mystery box. I think we're good. So we're gonna make a little bit of tree fertilizer. We're kind of pushing it. Let's just drop off the tree fertilizer. We're not going to pretend to be heroes and try and fertilize stuff now. Just get to bed. Too many times we've been stung with that. Almost 8,000. That's a good return. Now, Piers wasn't open, but we did make some money as well with Willie. So it's going to be cloudy, and Fortune says the spirits are in good humor. I'm going to turn it back to you, Dino. Thanks, well done. You're really good at getting this stuff done. So we got the harvest, we got the animal products, we pet the animals, and you did your double check. That's awesome. We picked an apple and jarred a peach. Made the cookout kit, fried an egg, and then you got some other stuff from the cookout kit as well. That's good. We have wine that's being produced for another bundle. And we took all the stuff we needed. We got some foraging done. We got some mining done. It was a busy day. Well done, well done. So one of the things I want to look at, and I kind of harp on when it comes to the sort of the IT piece of it. Now, for our sake, the IT piece is I've put together a ledger to keep track of all the transactions, and that's pretty much it. There's no ERP system other than, if you call that sort of an ERP system, but there's no none of the big computer companies behind any of this. It's just my spreadsheet. But when you know what you're looking for, you need a place to capture it, and then you capture it in a spreadsheet. And then if you are capturing the right stuff, then you can look back and sort of say, now I understand a bit about what's going on. So I just wanted to look at what we're getting as far as an asset class. And I stayed away from, like, the ducks are fairly new, and The goats are fairly new, and we can get to those. But certainly, like from the standpoint, the bee house and the chickens and the cows and the mushroom logs and the kegs, they've been around for a while. I didn't use the jars or the mayonnaise jars or any of those. Basically, because they're downstream operations from something else, and there's a coordination that is required. And we'll get into all that. That's part of the capacity planning. That's part of, the cellular type stuff. We'll work on that. But just from a bulk standpoint, where is our money coming from? So we're using the ledger for this, and some assets have a really straightforward relationship for how they're going to make money and how much we can expect. Others not so much. So let's go through them, sort of asset class by asset class. Start with the bee house and honey, and you can see the same graph left right because of the scale, because there's less on the graph on the left one. The scale's a little bigger, so you can see what's going on. But essentially, you can see those jagged lines sort of hover around what you would expect. Essentially, if we have poppies around, then we can make poppy honey for 380. You take that 380 every 4 days, so that works out to essentially 95 G a day. And then you look at, well, once that poppy honey is done, it's going to go back to wild honey, which is 100 per jar, which divided by 4 is only 25. So you can see, even though there's a sort of the jaggedness going on, the pattern that we're really following, notwithstanding it's not every day, is roughly 95 per day until the end of fall, and then it drops down to 50 per day, or 25 per day, 25 per day. So you can see what's going on, and you can pretty much predict that it's going to stay 25 per day until we get our fairy rose, and then it's going to jump up because we know it's 680 per jar. You divide that by 4, and then on a per bee house basis, you're making a lot of money. So that's if we just break down that choppy yellow line on the right graph, sort of explain it on the left graph, hopefully you can see where we're going with that. Now, animals do have some sort of similar predictability, but not quite the same. So, for example, if we look at that blue line for the eggs, it's bouncing around, but we know that the every day, as long as we have them in good moods, if we pet them, etc. But the chickens are going to produce anything from a base small egg, which is going to be 50 G, to a large gold egg, which is going to be 142. And I put that sort of light blue line to show you that's sort of the range that we're looking at. And the average is going to be somewhere in there. Similarly, for milk, it can go everywhere from a regular milk base level 125 to a gold large milk for 285. And you can see the black is kind of following that sort of in the range of that green. So the greenish and the light blue are really ranges in which we can expect money. And, I can be comfortable that we're getting, eggs, and they're going to slightly increase because as we do more petting, the moods are better, and we're going to get better eggs, and then in the cow sense, better milk out. But essentially, I know the range in which it's going to be. So one more asset class that we've sort of pulled out. Now look at mushroom. Well, when we get a mushroom, it can be anything from a 40G mushroom, if it's just a base common mushroom, to a purple mushroom that's gold for 375. That's almost a 10 to 1 ratio. Like, that's a huge area in which we could, essentially see what's going on. So it's not really a good predictor. And if you couple that with, in some cases, instead of just getting one common mushroom or one gold purple mushroom, you could have 2 or you could have 3. You can get multiple per log per harvest. So trying to unravel that, we are much better off rather than sticking with the numbers that we calculate. Just stick with the empirical numbers and say, all right, it looks like we're roughly getting 80 per, right? So as far as a gold per day per mushroom log, roughly 80 G is sort of the, sort of where we're looking, 60 to 80 G kind of thing. So So that's sort of what we're doing for that asset class, and you can see it's not the same for every asset class. We can't do the same calculation. We sort of have to work around it, but it gets a little funnier. So that's just on a gold per day basis. If we actually look at per touch, if we're still constricted or restricted by the number of touches, how much time we have during the day, then touching something less and getting more money is going to be valuable. So even though we have honey that is 75, roughly 75 G per day, if we do it per touch, because we're not going to touch it every day, we're going to touch it every fourth day. The actual empirical number that comes out is 324 G per touch. That's huge. That's a lot of money per touch. We're not doing a lot of effort. We're getting a lot of money return. And then the same thing with a mushroom, where it's only 40. I was saying 80. I was being a bit optimistic. It's only about 40 per day. And then again, it's every 4 days unless it rains, and then it's fewer days. So if you just do it per touch, and now it turns out to be like over 200, 217, 218 G per touch. So those two, honey and mushroom, the yellow and the red, really take over when you start looking at how much we're going to get per touch, per asset. If you look at milk and eggs, they also fare fairly well. Easy to say. They also fare fairly well. Not nearly as well as mushrooms or honey, but getting 50 to 100 per touch is probably pretty good. Keg, on the other hand, well, there's so many different ways you can play a keg, depending on what's going in it, how long it's going to be in for. And even on the graphs that I showed for keg, I kind of suppressed the fact that there was a minus 800 the first time it showed up. So that would really sort of mess up the graphs because it goes so far below zero. So yeah, kegs have some investment, but they also have a good income per day. I gotta say it's fairly healthy. Income per touch is now going to be more about how we feed in, how we look at it in sort of the supply chain sense, and sort of, the capacity model, how they coordinate together. And if we can create a cell, much like we decided with the apple tree and the jar, that's going to basically make the touches more fluid, make it easier to handle, and just give us more money per effort is really what we're trying to calculate. So there's a lot of potential for kegs, but right now we're still looking at them in a functional sense, and we really haven't tied much of that down. So what does this mean? Well, we can once we get the fairy rose honey, it's going to be gangbusters. We're just going to make a ton of money, and then it's going to come to a screeching halt in winter. So we want to take advantage as we can. We don't want to overinvest from the standpoint. We know there's going to be a sharp end to it. Mushrooms, on the other hand, they go right through winter and they provide a lot of good revenue. So we're planning on phase 2 of our mushrooms. The mushroom farm next to the greenhouse. That's looks like it's going to return very well. Animals, as much as they take more touches because you got to pet them and you got to milk them. And sometimes when you milk them, you don't really get them because you're turning the wrong way. I don't know how the game has set that up, but I find it pretty frustrating. But all to the point to say, it's a little more work to get that animal income, but it is pretty steady. So if you were looking for establishing a baseline, and we do want to establish that baseline, that we want money that comes in every day, and then use the extra time for the things that make the most sense to use the time on, that's a good one to invest in. When we get to kegs and jars and mayonnaise and cheese, we really have to start looking at what goes into them because, for example, mayonnaise, as long as we have eggs to feed, anytime we go by, we can feed it and wait for the next one to come. Once we run out of eggs, well, then we can't really work ahead. So getting that coordination, getting that capacity model, making that all work is as big a part of getting a good return as having enough of them. just to be clear. Now, all of this is really analysis that gets us to how do we do our capital planning, how do we do our capacity planning, that sort of thing. This analysis will also help in another way that we're going to get to on a human resources level, and we'll get that in hopefully in the next episode. Hopefully you're getting something out of this. If there's any way I can make it easier to understand, more entertaining, whatever, let us know in the comments, and we'll do what we can with that. But other than that, this is Dino the Ops Guy signing off.